Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the South Stand with me, Jez Davies. I'm joined with my illustrious co-host, Morgan Hewitt. Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm well. I'm feeling warm.
Good.
I'm feeling warm, but
yeah, it's hot.
warm,
It's hot today.
but friendly. Warm but friendly.
Good. Just before we introduce our guest today, Tottenham Hotspur, mad Tottenham Hotspur fan, I hear. Just want to remind everyone to like and subscribe us. Subscribe to us even to follow more great content relating to Norwich City and football in general over the summer. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest today. So hi Lewis, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you for having me on, lads. How are we both? All good?
Yeah, good. Thank you, and thank you so much for coming on. Perhaps if you'd just like to introduce yourself, what you do for a living, where you're from, what team you support, and how you know Morgan.
Yeah, so my name is Lewis. I'm 25. I work in recruitment, unfortunately. So if anyone's looking for a job that's listening, yeah, you know where I am. I work in Bristol. So I've lived here for about 3 years. I'm originally from just down the motorway, in just outside of Chippenham. Right. Obviously, I'm a Spurs fan. And I'm still not quite off the highs of last season. And it's been a great time rubbing it in Morgan's face. And I know Morgan because he wants a job, and I recruit specifically in his field. So we've been talking for what, about a year and a half now, maybe?
About 16 months.
Yeah. And to this, well, up until now, you have just been a picture on a screen and a voice on the end of the phone. So it's nice to see that you're not a charlatan. You're not
I exist.
Some fake human. Yeah, you're not an AI bot.
Yeah.
No, so that's sort of where I am. I'm obviously Spurs as a team are interesting. As a club, very interesting. I'm not quite sure why I end up supporting Spurs. It's obviously family. But what made me stick with them, I'm still not sure, because it's just a life of pain. But no, it's obviously last season was a good one, and I'm quite excited to talk about how that went, and obviously the future with Mr. Thomas Frank.
Yeah. We've got a lot to unpack for sure. I think for me, if you don't mind me starting, Morgan, I think when I was growing up in Norfolk, there was a lot of Spurs fans, and it probably showed what sort of size club it was, and it still is. 20 years ago, that it could attract fans as far away as Norwich, I guess the point I'm trying to get at to sort of start off really with is talk to us about the new stadium. It's 2 or 3 years old now, isn't it? I think it's probably the best stadium I've ever been to. Does that relate in terms of the atmosphere as well? Do you think the atmosphere is there? Just talk to us about the stadium, really.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, obviously it is an insane feat of engineering. The place is impressive. So I'm taking it, Jez, you've been.
Yeah, twice.
Morgan, have you been?
Not yet. No.
It's incredible. They've obviously like we saw when it first came out, they had the Southpaw beers and stuff. So I think my first game was Southampton at home, and it was my dad's birthday, and I picked Southampton because I thought it was when we had Mourinho, and we were like, it was like that first couple of years where we were like flying, or the first couple of games, and I was like, Southampton, easy win. They got no chance, but they beat us 5-4. I bought hospitality seats. Atmosphere then was great, and I think it's because of the stadium, and obviously it was just an impressive place to be. But I think over the years, the building is incredible. The atmosphere though is not White Hart Lane for sure. White Hart Lane was incredible. That was like, even as a fan of Spurs going in, you're like, this is loud, hostile. You're so close to the pitch. With the new one, we're a little bit further away. Yeah. Obviously, you've got the open top roof. I think it's built to hold the noise or to echo the noise, but it's so quiet on a general match day. I'll be honest. I mean, Spurs fans, I think, will agree over the last few years since we moved, the atmosphere has died down, and I think part of that is, commercialization of the club. We've got fans coming that aren't necessarily fans. They're, like we have a massive Asian following for obviously Heung-min Son, but they don't know the songs, they don't know the history, they just know Son. They're there to see him. He's obviously probably the biggest celebrity, one of in Asia. So I think over the years the atmosphere has died down. That said, the Europa League games, they were good, really good. Especially, I don't know if either of you watched the semi-final against, I think it was Bodo Glimt.
Bodo Glimt, yeah.
When they came to us, it was incredible to watch it. I didn't watch it live. I sort of watched it. Obviously, I didn't watch it in the stadium. I watched it at home. But the white flags, we've got like a trumpet player. Who goes? He does the big games, and that was seriously something. But I think on the whole, unless it's a derby game, an Arsenal or a Chelsea or a West Ham, other than that, it is quite quiet. But the building,
I think West Ham suffered from that as well, moving to London Stadium, and I don't think they've sort of quite recovered what they had at Upton Park. I mean, I haven't yet been to the Brentford ground either. I remember the old Brentford, I can't remember what, Griffin Park. And I like, to this day, it remains one of my favourite football grounds ever, because it's like 4 pubs on every corner, so Roy of the Rovers. It was just brilliant. So I think there's obviously a bigger question here. And I think, this is the whole point of these off script Beyond the South Stand episodes, where we talk about this random tangents of things. But I think you're right. There is something about a commercialization of football. Like if Norwich have been at Carrow Road for since 1935, and I don't know how I would feel about them moving from Carrow Road now. Like if they built a brand new stadium, right by Carrow Road in the Riverside area, I don't know if it would. I mean, we don't have the best atmosphere of late, so I know what you're saying. Like, does it kill it? Does it kill that kind of spit and sawdust vibe that the club has kind of gone through the decades with? And on top of that as well, I don't know much about how it's affected the area, because Tottenham, for the most part, is still kind of what I would say up and coming. So I don't know how, if that stadium being built has had. Do you know if it's had an impact on the surrounding area?
So obviously, much like any football fan that's invested in the club, I'm on all the forums and everything else. And I think when we were building the stadium, because it's still, I think it's the centre circle of White Hart Lane is the goal line of the South Stand. I think it's either that or the centre circle's in the same place or something like that. But it's increased sort of profits for local businesses. It's become a much more commercial area. I think we've built a hotel. We're building a new sort of small urban academy for sort of grassroots football. I know it's definitely had an impact, in terms of infrastructure and traffic and everything. Obviously, it's got a lot busier. But I think in terms of the financial upside, I do think that the general feeling is it's done really well for that local Tottenham economy. The only thing that needs work on is the transport. I mean, the tube. You got to go to Seven Sisters. I'm not going to sit there and complain about the walk, but I mean, it's a good 10-15 minutes up the road. And when you're piling out 60, 70 odd thousand people all going to the same place, getting home from a game is a long journey. But no, I think generally, the area has become a little bit more affluent because of the investment in the local infrastructure, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's I think for me that's the upshoot of of having these new stadiums is that it brings that kind of jobs and that kind of stuff to the local community. And then on top of that, the old ground might get repurposed for something. I don't know what they've done with Griffin Park. I don't know if they've kept it for the
built on it, I think, mate.
Pardon?
No, I think they've demolished it and built on it.
Oh, really? That's a shame. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting kind of interesting sort of conversation in itself. I suppose, like, moving on, the reason why you're sat here is because you won. I think you won a trophy, didn't you? So
minor trophy, just the European major, nothing too crazy.
So I think there's two sides to this, right? Talk to us about, I mean, about that experience, because we don't know about winning anything, do we, Jez? To be fair,
not in recent years, no.
So I disagree, because obviously I mean, don't get me wrong, for a few years you've been a bit of a yo-yo club. You know, you've won the championship, you come up, you've come down, you've gone up, you've gone down, but you've experienced winning. I haven't experienced anything, even as a Spurs fan. So I started supporting Spurs after Bale. When Bale left, that was the year that I properly got into football. I was a rugby kid, sort of growing up. So I'm still quite fresh. You know, I still, there's a lot of a history that I don't know. I only recently found out who Ozzy Ardiles was, and apparently he's absolutely massive in Argentina. But I'm just not old enough, and I didn't know. But yeah, I've never experienced winning anything. Obviously, we got close in the Champions League, but I think we all knew we were never winning that game. Against Liverpool, who were flying at the time.
Yeah.
But no, it was. I can't explain the feeling. I don't think I came off that buzz. I don't think I have yet. It is just incredible. The feeling of it was less like we've won something. It was more like we've finally done it. We've come so close for so long.
Yeah.
You know, we had, come third or fourth in a 2-horse race when Leicester won the league, and Arsenal pipped us to second.
Yeah.
We had, like I said, the Champions League run that night in Ajax. That was, again, another incredible night, and that felt like we won the Champions League that night. But then against United as well, because it's Premier League, we were both not doing too good. Well, neither of us did very well at all in the league. It felt right, and the whole run, I just felt like we were going to do it. Like we were odds-on favourites at the start, and I'll be honest, I was a bit pessimistic. I was like, well, we'll just do what we did in the Conference League 2 years ago, and we'll lose to some terrible side from like Romania, which we did do in the group stages. But it was when we got to the knockouts, I don't know what it was. Something just flipped, and I went, "Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to win." And like, all my mates were like, "You're deluded, you're mental." And I was like, "Well, you look at our run. Our run was possibly the easiest cup run anyone could have ever got. Aside from, I think it was Frankfurt, who I was a little bit scared of. Because they were an impressive outfit. Their striker was incredible. But other than that, United not doing too well. We've got an Asian team. We've got, we had a young squad that were proper up for it. And I do think it showed. I don't think, I said just before, I don't think we deserved to win that final. I do think United on the day were probably the better team. So that last 30 minutes, I think I sat just with my head in my hands the entire time, just terrified. And when like Van de Ven took it off the line,
that's brilliant.
It was when that happened, I was like, yeah, we've got this in the bag. We're not losing this. But yeah, that second half was nervy. But we stuck at it, and yeah, I think celebrations carried on all the way into the next week.
How many years was it again? How many years since you won anything like that?
So it was 2008, 2007, 8, I think, was the League Cup. So what's that? 7. I'm terrible at maths. Someone help me out. 17 16 years? Yeah. And then previous to that, I think it was like 41, 42 since the European major, which was the Europa League. Well, what was the Europa League back then?
Yeah.
So yeah, for people like my dad, I can't imagine what that felt like. He's seen success, then no success, and then to finally win something. I do think that's going to give us what we need to kick on. But
yeah, because
Tottenham.
Yeah, the thing is, I want to the other side to this, to that win, to the cup win, is the league performance of last season. I can't. So, like, for regular viewers of any of our content, people might know that Spurs are like, I've got a soft spot for Spurs. I spent a lot of time living in North London, so they're kind of like my second team. Jez's second team's Luton. He goes on about Luton all the time. He's shaking his head. What you do, mate?
Just checking their fixtures, actually, funny enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
League One.
You look like you're wearing orange face paint, to be fair.
David Dickinson.
It's just yeah. Yeah, he's certainly a Dickinson. Anyway, sorry, I'm off on a tangent. But your league performance last season was. Did you finish 17th? Wasn't it?
Abysmal, absolutely abysmal. I think it's something like out of the last 14 seasons, we would have been relegated 12 out of those 14 seasons. Something mental like that. But because the quality now is so big, we just survived. But yeah,
I think
we were terrible.
I think as well, though, Lewis, you summed it up earlier on. I think you said that the cup, the run you had that you went on, corresponded with the knockout phase, and I wonder whether Ange, I'm going to call him Ange because his surname's
Postecoglou.
Well, that's quite good actually. But anyway, Ange, he wondered if he looked at it and thought, well, that the easiest route into Europe next season is to go and win that competition, and we're nowhere near the European playoff places. Sacrifice the league and go all out in the cup competition in the European Europa League, to go and win that. Would you say that's a possible scenario?
Definitely, 100% what happened, and allegedly from obviously the correspondence at the club is one of the reasons why we parted ways with him. So apparently there were backroom staff that didn't understand, we should be going for the league because, it's more prestigious. But Spurs fans were crying out for a trophy. The board were crying out for a trophy. The team was crying out for a trophy. It made sense. It made sense, especially when you looked at our run. Had we got United's side of the draw, I'd have said different story. Because that was a difficult run in. What they had, Leon, Betis, and someone else pretty good.
Bilbao, wasn't
it? Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Not Betis. Sorry, Bilbao. Yeah. But
they did have someone else decent as well. You're right. Sorry, carry on.
Someone else. Yeah. No, but allegedly that is the reason, or one of the reasons as to why. You just completely sacked off the league, and we did, especially in those last weeks when we got through the quarters. We rested the first team. I think it was the 2 or 3 games prior to the end of the league season. We played the academy. We played the second team. We were playing Ben Davies. We played Ben Davies and Archie Gray at centre back, who are both of them are like 5'10". They're not centre backs.
No.
But it was purely just to keep. We need to keep Romero safe, Van der Ven safe. We need to keep the left back, right back safe. Centre mids need to be safe. The strikers need to be safe. So let's just play the kids.
Yeah.
And if we get a result, then the kids have shown that they can do it. The academy lads have done it. Obviously, we got Mikey Moore, who's unbelievable.
Great player.
Unbelievable. I know there's a few clubs in Championship looking at him this season. I mean, Birmingham are the favourites.
Well, I'd have him at Norwich straight away.
He's incredible.
I'd drive him up myself.
He's so good. But no, apparently that is one of the reasons as to why Ange was sort of thrown overboard was because he just sacked off the league.
Yeah.
I would say like the evidence to that is the fact that he changed his tactics in the cup run. I mean, I'm not like Mr. Tactician, but Senor Tactician. But would it be fair to say that was the would it be fair to say that was the case? That he's like, because that's evidence in itself, right? Like he wasn't playing that Ange ball, that expansive Ange ball that you had been in the league in the cup run. You ground out that win against United. Like, I mean,
sitting in our own box, which isn't Ange ball at all. No, it was
won the cup. No, it's all right. And that won you the cup, right?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest gripe with Ange was when he first came in, that we went on that 10-14 game run where we didn't lose. We looked incredible. No one knew what to do with us. And then we got hit with, it was the Chelsea game, we got hit with the injuries and the red cards, and then it all came crumbling down. And then when we got everyone back, it just wasn't the same. And I was begging, just try anything else. It's clearly not working. Everyone's worked us out fairly quickly. We've got to change it. We have to change the tactics, but he didn't want to do it, and he wanted to stick to his tactics, which fair enough, because it got us to where it did. But you can't help but think, what if you hadn't, had to have done that earlier on? But then equally, we did it in the final, and it seemed, it clearly worked. Although it did feel like the Tottenham of old, watching that sort of sit in their own box and waiting to counter attack.
Yeah, no, definitely, Lewis. I just wanted to make a point on that Chelsea game, because if I remember rightly, that was the game where there was about, no word of a lie, there must have been about 10 VAR calls in the first half. Yeah. It was unbelievable. I was just sitting there because it was so entertaining as well. Just watch. I think there's about 2 or 3 goals got disallowed. There was a possible red card. There was this. There was that. It was. People say VAR ruined football, but that was hilarious that night.
That night was funny.
And I think you scored. I think it might have been 3-2 or something. It was whatever the score was. You scored what you thought was the equaliser, and it was a brilliant goal. And it was someone that you wouldn't. Was it Son? I thought it was someone that you wouldn't necessarily think would have volleyed it into the top corner from the edge of the box. Who was it?
Oh, it might have been. That might have been Man. I don't know actually. It was. I know Son got a disallowed goal that would have taken us to 3-3.
Yeah, it was
because he was offside. But there was one. Someone leathered it.
Yeah, and anyway, whoever it was a brilliant goal. But I think that was the one that got disallowed for. I just wanted to clarify it was that game, because I think you're right.
Game was incredible.
Because he stuck to his kind of like high line for, like, again, we don't talk about tactics here, do we, Morgan? But we need to, because it's relevant to this point. But he stuck to even though they're down to 10, he stuck to this ridiculous high line, and Nicholas Jackson just got him on the break every time.
Yeah, but had we not had Van de Ven go down injured, that would have worked. But when you've got Ben Davies who's pushing 33, 34, and we playing Jed Spence, who hadn't played a game at all for like a year and a half. That only ends one way, and then they punished us, especially when you got the likes of like Cole Palmer, who can just thread a ball like that in behind. But equally, had the Son goal gone in, had the disallowed goal earlier on gone in, we'd have won. I still feel very strongly about that. It was the Romero red card that I don't think was a red card at all. And there have been multiple similar tackles happen that haven't been red cards, and it's almost like that did kind of end our season before it even started.
Sliding doors moment. How do you feel about, like, I know we've talked about it outside of this podcast, but for viewers at home, how do you feel about the sacking, parting ways? Do you think it was justified? What are your feelings about it?
Yeah, so before the final, I was Ange out, and I said, even if we win it, I don't care. I want him gone. I want adaptable football, which is what obviously we got with Thomas Frank, and then the likes of who we've been linked with, like Xavi or Iraola from Bournemouth.
Yeah.
When we won the final, my opinion changed, and I thought, I think give him until Christmas. Let's invest into the club, into the team. Let's give him until Christmas. If it isn't working at Christmas, fine, cut ties, leave. And then you can't have any complaints. But now I think all Spurs fans feel, or most Spurs fans, at least the proper ones, feel the same of we should have probably given him until Christmas to see what he could do with a fully fit team that's now got some more of his players in rather than players he's inherited.
Yeah.
He's not going in with a bare bones defence or a midfield that's made up of two 18-year-olds and a 34-year-old. I would have wanted to see Ange have another few months, and he was clearly a good bloke, clearly a good manager. Yeah. All the players spoke very highly of him. And then when he was sacked, a lot of them waited until Thomas Frank was announced to give their thank you posts. Which I think speaks a lot. If you want to read into stuff, it speaks a lot about what they felt about him and what impact he had on the team.
I think like in interviews he came across as a very like it's quite a down to earth manager. You know, someone you could have a beer with. You know,
comfortably.
And I always liked that about him. He was in my eyes a bit of a breath of fresh air in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Compared to likes of Eddie Howe and so on.
Yeah, the yes men managers. He spoke his voice and he made sure that he wasn't misunderstood. If he had a point and it was twisted, he clarified what he was saying. And I like that a lot. And I think Spurs again needed someone like that.
Yeah, it's a brave new world. Then I mean, I think that segues nicely into I suppose talking about Thomas Frank and what that looks like for you moving into the next season. Obviously, look, you've gotten into the Champions League via the back door.
We have.
I love that. That's amazing. So, what are your thoughts, feelings, emotions?
He's clearly a good manager. He's done an impeccable job at Brentford on a shoestring budget. You know, they're something like the third poorest team in the league, and they are consistently finishing mid-table. I think, was it not last year, the year before, they were challenging for Europa League. But they were up there. They were an impressive team, really hard to play against, and have an incredible record against the top six. It's something like they've lost like 2 games, and they've either won or drawn like all the others. Like, he's clearly a good manager. I think he's obviously very different to Ange. He's much more of a tactical, set up to defend how the opposition play, rather than we set up to play how we want. We adapt to other teams, which again, I think, if we'd have had a blend of Thomas Frank and Ange Postecoglou, I think we'd have been pretty unstoppable. But now I suppose I think he's going to do great. He's obviously, like I said, he's done it on a very small budget, which we are renowned for having, not big spenders in the market. Although apparently we're going to sign Eze for 60 million. I think he's inherited a squad of players that he can definitely work with. His whole profile of player is physical presence. You're either quick, strong, or tall. And I'd say most of our team fall into that category. Or that like the midfield are very agile. The strikers, Dom Solanke, you couldn't pick a better striker to fit his system. You look at Johan Wissa last season. He's workhorse, just loved running. That's all Dom Solanke does. Your wingers are very progressive. You bring in the likes of, I'd argue Brennan Johnson probably doesn't fit the system. He'd be more of an outlet. Similar to maybe like they played like Kevin, I think it's Kevin Schade, similar sort of profile to him. But then, we've got players like Kulusevski who can play that sort of that 10, that running between just legs in the middle. You've got Maddison who plays the playmaker. You bring in the youth like Mikey Moore. We've signed that Mathis Tell, who looks like he has got some serious potential. Very raw talent, but he's that, sort of Mbeumo character, same as Wilson Odobert. So I think he's inherited a really strong team that fits his style. He just needs 1 or 2 players. I know we've made a couple of signings already. So we signed some Japanese centre-back who's apparently going to go straight into the first team. Okay. But I think we'll do. There's going to be teething problems, obviously. I don't think we're going to do very well in the Champions League, being brutally honest. It's not something that Thomas Frank has done before. He's never been in a European competition. But, he's pragmatic, sensible manager, clearly good with the players. I know Brentford players have sort of spoken quite, voice their opinions quite loudly about what they feel, and the fact that Mbeumo was considering turning down United to come to us because we got Frank, I think says a lot as well.
I think I wonder if you need someone in your squad a bit like Harvey Elliott, who's probably not going to get a game at Liverpool, or at least regular game. Whereas if he comes to somewhere like if he comes to Tottenham Hotspur, he's probably going to play every week. And I think it's another it's another step on his progression. I watched the England under-21s last night, and he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. And yes, that is up against the under-21s, but I do feel that's key for him next season. He's 22, I think. So he's coming into a time where it's actually a really key time. And I hope he does go to a club like Tottenham, because I think that'd be a really good move.
I know this is a Spurs chat, but I really like Harvey Elliott. And he would be a really strong replacement for someone like a Maddison.
Yeah.
Who is getting a little bit on. He's 28, 29. He's not obviously, he's in his prime, but Harvey Elliott is, 20, like you say, 22, 23. He's reaching that point where he would, a player like that profile would have a serious impact. But, when you link with people like Eze, you're kind of like, I'd rather someone like that.
I think for me,
sorry, Morgan, carry on.
I was about to say, I think for me, you made a point there about Frank not having had experience in Europe. We had a Forest fan on recently, and I'm going to pose the same question to you. You're fighting on two fronts with a manager that hasn't had experience in the Champions League. So, where do you think your focus is going to be this time?
I think it's going to be on the league and the League Cups. I think a good FA Cup run would do us the world of good. Like I said, I have no doubt we'll get through to the knockouts of the Champions League, but I think it's when we get there, you're playing the likes of a PSG or Liverpool, Arsenal, Inter Milan. But that's just a different caliber, and it's not one that we are used to playing regularly. I mean, we struggled against, Romanian and Ukrainian sides last season in the Europa League.
Yeah.
And we're basically playing with, pretty much the same team, with a couple of extra additions. So I think it'll be the League Cups. I think a Carabao Cup run, semis or final, and equally, an FA Cup, get to the quarters or semi would be really good for us. But I think it will be the league is the focus and try and maintain the Champions League qualification, as much as I know that's going to be very difficult with the caliber of competition now.
I wonder
9 teams up there.
I mean, like Spurs were a stalwart in the top 4 for so many years, and we'll come. I think it will be remiss of us not to talk about Pochettino. I mean, obviously we're going to come on to that, but I don't know, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't know if the Premier League has moved on now. Like, you've spent a few seasons out of the top 6. You've got Newcastle who are regularly hitting, particularly in the top 4. Chelsea still doing what they do, and then you've got outliers like Forest coming in. How do you feel about, do you feel that you're able to kind of get to those heights under the Poch years, or do you think that things have kind of got a little out of reach?
Yeah, I do think it's achievable. I mean, we touched on the stadium. That is a massive revenue generator for us. I know that we have money to spend, which is the most. Any Spurs fan will tell you we absolutely hate our board, we hate our owner. We have chants about getting Daniel Levy out of the club. We hold protests 3, 4, 5 times a year. He just won't invest in the club. I read something that since he took over, he's invested a sum total of 27 million, which equates to 2 million a season that he's been in charge of the club. So we have the money, we generate the income, we can compete with, the big boys, Liverpool, United, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, but we just choose not to for some reason. We try and be a bit tact with our recruitment for whatever reason. I don't know why. And it makes it very painful as a Spurs fan, because I know that we've got the players in the team now. I know we've got the money to bring in players that add to that quality. We've got an incredible infrastructure. Our academy is very strong at the minute. It's traditionally not been great, but we're bringing in players like Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire. We've got like Demola Adebayo who scored. I had my mate's younger brother played for our academy, and he's gone to Spain. And I think we can compete. I know we can compete. It's just frustrating as a fan because the board don't reflect that, and they don't show that want to win and the desire that the fans have been crying out for years. But yeah, I know we can do it. It's just a case of are we finally going to put some money behind the team now we've won something?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think that you run the Europa League, you're in the Champions League next season. Why can't you invest in players like Harvey Elliott, or I'm thinking of other players that across Europe that have had good seasons. Look at Scott McTominay at Napoli.
Yeah,
someone like him in
incredible.
the centre of your park would be incredible. And I think I'm not saying necessarily him, but a player of that ilk. But I think as well as you mentioned about the extra revenue you guys get from NFL, because obviously you've got the NFL pitch that can be wheeled out. It's incredible the technology there
to watch it.
It's absolutely incredible, that stadium, what it can do. And you got the go-kart track as well underneath it, right? But this one by F1.
Go-kart track.
Yes, you not know that, Morgan.
No, let's get down there, mate.
It's funny enough. I know the supplier of that through my current role, shall we say. Obviously I can't name them, but I think it's an incredible facility.
I just got this Mario Kart image of Daniel Levy leaving a village.
I think it's all F1 themed,
it is. It's in
imagine
partnership.
Imagine that, just the ability to kind of generate revenue from other streams. I think you mentioned the urban football earlier on. That'd be incredible. And it's things like that. It's incentives like that don't only bring jobs to the area. And when you had White Hart Lane, brilliant. It probably had. I wouldn't want to guess how many people work there, but you could probably times it by about 3 or 4. I would imagine the amount of people now that are employed by Tottenham Hotspur, and giving people in that local community opportunities to not only work but other sort of community projects as well. Do you know much about the community department at Tottenham and what they do?
Sorry, you cut out just a little bit. What was which department? Sorry.
So the community department. Do you know much about what they do and what they offer? So
much like I think this is a thing amongst the top clubs, but much like any top club, I'm sure you guys do it as well. So we have community outreach programs. It's in the players' contracts that they have to do 2 sessions a week with the community.
Amazing.
So whether that's hosting a training session or going into a school or delivering groceries, working at a homeless shelter. So we have a massive footprint on the community, and it's not I suppose it's to remind the players of this is who you're doing it for. It's these types of people that are from those types of background that football, this club is one of the only good things that they have, and that sort of beacon and shining light that they look for, and for them to see those those programs firsthand and be involved so heavily. We got a number of players that donate quite significant amounts to charity. I know Bissouma donates a fair chunk of his wage to local charities. And does a lot of stuff back home in Mali. So we've got the very close knit, Tottenham local outreach, but then we've also got massive global programs. I think it is all with the unified view of you've got to give something back. If you're not going to win on the pitch, you've got to win off the pitch.
Hearts and minds, Lewis. Hearts and minds.
No, definitely.
But I think that's one of the things that. I've spoke about it before about sort of having a bit of a soft spot for Spurs, but I think I've always felt that sort of community vibe behind what they do. When you speak to a Spurs fan, I've known a few in my time, it always feels a bit different to other London clubs. And obviously with Norwich, there's parallels there in terms of just how important Norwich is to our community, because it isn't just. We're pretty much the only big club all the way through to where Leicester is, and that's a massive catchment area. And since me and Jez is smiling, I know why you're smiling, because you're thinking of Ipswich, aren't you?
I was as well.
I'd say Leicester, but the point I'm making is since we've done this podcast and we've talked to fans. Norwich fans all over the world, you just don't realise just how far-reaching this football club, Norwich Football Club, is, and obviously Spurs will like you said, probably the same thing, which I think is great. I think it's a really nice thing to hear. that you give back.
So much so, Morgan, just before you move on, so much so there used to be a Stevenage shop in Stevenage, a Spurs shop in Stevenage.
Really?
Yeah, there used to be a club store in Stevenage. Yeah.
Wow.
It just shows, doesn't it, a town that's okay, not that far away from London, but they've got enough fans in this area that it warrants having a Tottenham Hotspur shop in the Westgate Centre in Stevenage.
Is it still there?
Do you know what? I don't think it is. I think it was only open about 2 or 3 years, but it warranted doing it. But yeah, it's bizarre how imagine Norwich putting a shop in Swaffham. I don't know. It's the equivalent of that, I guess. But
Bristol, I'm sure that'd go down really well.
Yeah. So talk to us about Pochettino, because we haven't touched on it yet, and we need to, really, don't we?
Yeah, really big soft spot for him, obviously. When he came in as a very undervalued, he'd come from Southampton, he'd done an all right job.
Yeah.
He came in and he just, exactly, I suppose the Tottenham way of what we've just talked about, the hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Charismatic, clearly got on with the players, clearly knew how to get everyone ticking. I mean, I think it was the last or the penultimate season at White Hart Lane where we didn't lose a game all year at home.
Yeah.
In fact, it might have been the year that Leicester won at 14. Was it 13, 14 or 14, 15? 14, 15.
Yeah, it was.
We were incredible. Like there was no game that I looked at and I went, we're not going to win that. Every game I was like, walk in the park. We've got the best defensive duo the Premier League has seen for a number of years in Alderweireld and Vertonghen, and we've got 2 of the best wing backs in world football at the time of Danny Rose and Kyle Walker.
Just quickly,
and then Harry Kane just comes out of nowhere.
Didn't we almost sign him, Jez? Didn't he come and look at our training ground and go, "Nah, you're all right"?
Alderweireld, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
we did, because when he was at Spurs, not Spurs. We were talking about Spurs. He was at Southampton, wasn't he, before you guys?
Yeah.
And he came. Apparently, the rumor is he came to look at our training ground and then done a U-turn.
Yeah.
Because at the time, we had like porta cabins, didn't we, and a conservatory where we had exercise bikes and stuff.
Which is not happening nowadays because of the money they've invested in that training ground. So, but that's one for a different day. But no, I think you can certainly draw comparisons between Pochettino and Frank, then, can't you? In terms of obviously where he's come from and where he might take you.
Yeah, and I mean that team, like I said, we smart with the recruitment. We already had Moussa Dembele, who, if you look at most podcasts where pros are like, who's the best player, most of them say Dembele. That they've played against. He's just incredible. We had Ericsson, great bit of recruitment.
Yeah.
Dele Alli just seemed to spawn out of nowhere. MK Dons, and was absolutely incredible for that sort of 3-4 year stretch.
Yeah,
and then England's greatest striker since Shearer. I mean, I know we're going to have a couple of people saying Rooney, but one of the most complete footballers to ever play the game just happened to be at the club. He obviously spent a spell at you guys, did Leicester.
Yeah, of course, that's right. Yeah.
And by all accounts was absolutely terrible. And then he got a chance because it was those years we had Soldado up front, and he was
awful.
That's like going back to Vietnam, watching him play football. He was terrible.
Flashback.
He was comfortably the worst footballer I've ever seen play football. But then it was like, well, we've got this kid in the club. The strikers aren't cutting it, Adebayor and Soldado. Pochettino trusted Kane, and lo and behold, he's turned out to be one of the greatest strikers that's ever played football.
He started a game, Lewis. He started a game for us where we lost to a non-league side in the FA Cup.
He missed the sitter, didn't he?
Yeah.
I've seen that clip.
Side was it?
Do you know what it was? Non-league side it was, Morgan.
You're asking me the question. I think we both know, judging by that smirk on your face. But let the viewers at home tell the viewers.
Well, everyone knows, don't they? It was Luton Town, but it was that's not the point. I mean, he looked terrible for Norwich. He went through one-on-one. in the Premier League. He might have scored one goal for us, if that. To be honest, he wasn't. He just didn't ever look like he was going to do anything. So when he obviously broke through at Spurs and started scoring all these goals, and the one from the edge of the box against Arsenal will always live long in the memory, where it was a fantastic goal. And he's just, and he's just come from absolutely nowhere, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's only a one season wonder." And then 2 or 3 years later,
and then it's 3, and then it's 4. Yeah, I was
exactly.
the same though. I was the exact same when he first came through. I was like, we've had a good run, but we'll probably, he'll either move or he won't be as good. And then he kept doing it, and it just showed, managers like Frank, like Pochettino, when you give that belief. Even Ange, the players knew that he believed in them. And I think that shows on the pitch. You get managers like, I'd argue Enzo Maresca for Chelsea. Probably doesn't show enough confidence in his players. He's rotating the team all the time. And their performance shows that, some players lack confidence. But the Poch years were great. The downfall was the Champions League, that final, because we didn't invest. It was the first year where a club hasn't invested in a single player. We lost players. We didn't recruit anyone. That squad, significantly suffered significantly the next season. I think we found ourselves in 8th. Then Poch goes, and we cycled through Nuno, Mourinho, Conte, who none of them delivered anything. And then we end up on Ange.
It was a strange one, because I think that squad under Pochettino before that Champions League final, you had personalities in it, and I think after Poch left and you went through that cycle of managers, it just felt like I couldn't remember, barely remember any of your squad. There didn't feel like there was any kind of personality behind the what I was seeing on the pitch, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think us in the league was a different.
Yeah.
Like that, they were different. That, especially that team, like I said, that 14-15 season, where we were just incredible, and almost every player on the pitch was the best in their position within the league. Based on form and output. The European competition, it didn't exactly translate, and then that Champions League run, I thought that was going to be the end of Poch. I thought that would have been it, and obviously, it was. That is in that season, I thought we were going to get rid of him at the start, because the squad was already getting older. We hadn't really invested in anyone. The Bale money had all gone, and we'd invested in terrible players. It was tough to watch him go, but it was kind of like, now is the right time. We need a new breath of fresh air. It hurt a little bit when he went to Chelsea. Don't get me wrong, I was a little bit upset, but a man needs a job, and it's a decent gig, to be fair. And they didn't do very well with him, so that was a double win for me. But no, it's funny, the old sort of cycle of managers, and it all goes back to, like I said earlier, the board not investing in the club. It went off our 3 or 4 of our best ever seasons in modern era, and we didn't invest a single penny. And then when we did, it was Tanguy and Ndombele who wouldn't run. So it's like, why have we done that then?
Sorry, Jez. I've just got a Harry Kane anecdote. So I had long hair once, down to about there, and then one day I decided I wanted to get it cut. So I went to the barbers and I said, "Can I have my hair like Harry Kane?" And which was at the time pushed back. Anyway, because my hair naturally parted in the middle, I had this hair pushed back, but it was really short. So what it would do, it would then part itself into curtains that went down to about there. And we're talking 10 years ago, when that look wasn't cool. So I owe Harry Kane. He owes me a haircut.
Oh, that's brilliant. I can imagine you with the long hair, and then I can imagine you with the weird little curtains as well.
I was just walking around with these curtains, and I was like, I could feel them just hanging there, and it was really stressing me out. I got really angry and upset because I thought it would sit back. So anyway.
Yeah. You do like the bully out of King of the Hill.
Yes.
I love King of the Hill.
Yeah. Anyway, Jez, you probably had a valid question to ask.
I can't remember what it was now, to be honest. What were we talking about? I can't remember. Anyway, I guess we're sort of running a bit low on time now. So finally, what are the I'll say finally, we've got Morgan's random question of the week to come, which is always a corker. What are the hopes and the aspirations for next season? Then what's going to happen?
So obviously, like, keep touching on the recruitment's got to be right. I would really love to get a player like Eze, and it looks like we're relatively close to that. I think we're going to lose a couple of players. Romero looks like he's probably going to go. So reinforcements at the back, which we've already done, which is good. I think in terms of aspirations, I'd like a last 16 in the Champions League. I'd like being realistic, I think a top 8 finish in the Prem, which might get you Europe, it might not. I'd like a cup win, either the FA or the Carabao, one of the two. I think we have the quality to do it. And I'd like to see Thomas Frank stay for more than 2 years.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think, and you'd like to see a more direct and regular train service from the stadium, right?
Yeah. Maybe
I'll let TFL know about your concern.
Please do.
I'm walking down Seven Sisters though. It's a good walk. It is a good walk. Scary walk if you're an away fan, but it's a good walk.
David Brent quote there, isn't there? But I might leave that for another day. Seven Sisters, I'm just watching. Anyway, the point I was going to make, Lewis, before Morgan rudely interrupted me earlier on, was I guess you're right, Morgan.
Yeah, just thinking about my curtains.
What, the ones up in your house, or the ones that are on your head?
The ones that were on my head. Anyway, sorry, go on, Jez.
Okay. Come on, before I forget again. Do you remember Sol Campbell?
Oh, player.
It might be before your time, but
he was before my time. But I know him. I know of him. I know all about him.
Of course, because I mean, when you were talking about Pochettino against Chelsea, I instantly thought, do you remember when Sol Campbell went from you guys to Arsenal straight away?
No, I don't. So I don't remember it. Obviously, it was What year was that? 2003, 4, something like that.
At least, because he played in the
before that.
I don't want to mention Arsenal too much for obvious
reasons,
but I think he played in that team.
I'm not that bad. Me and Morgan talk about this a lot. Obviously Arsenal, it's a rival club, but we're on such different journeys. We're at totally different ends of the spectrum. I don't care. You beat us, great. We beat you next time. You went on a 5-year run, we didn't beat us. You've now gone on a 3-year run when we haven't beat you. It's horses for courses, but I'm the same with Chelsea. I've got all my mates at Chelsea, Arsenal, United. That said, it's me and one other that sort of the ugly ducklings of Spurs, but I'm not that bad with Arsenal. I know Arsenal fans feel a bit more passionately about Spurs than maybe we do about them, but it's purely because you're doing your own thing. I don't really care. I mean, I love laughing at Mikel Arteta, but
who looks
Sol
like
Campbell is
Mikel Arteta looks like Captain Black from Captain Scarlet. Has anyone ever noticed
like a Lego man? It's a Lego head, mate. It's so.
We seem to be delving into hairstyles here quite a lot, don't we?
I mean, it's a part of the course, isn't it? Because you always bring up my quiff.
Yeah. Lewis has got a very fashionable hairstyle, I've got to say.
Green is not a colour. Green is not a colour that suits you, Jez.
Well, I'm wearing green today, so. Morgan, over to you for the random question of the week, please, sir.
So, for those uninitiated and viewers of Spurs who probably don't ever watch our podcast, and why would you? Because it's Norwich related. Every week we pose questions to our guest, and one of those questions is my random question of the week. So I sing a little jingle, which I'll do now. I'm not spinning the chair.
Yeah, you are. No. You got to spin the chair. Come on, every time. Why don't I have to remind you of this every single time?
You're like a performing monkey. Ready? Random question of the week. So, Spurs to rival fans are known as spuds, as you might know. But what is your favourite carbohydrate potato meal, snack, whatever?
That's a really tough one. That's quality. Do you know what? I knew it was going to be something like that. I was thinking about what it might be, and maybe whether you go down the Spurs route, but spuds. Yeah, we are the spuds to rival fans. My favourite potato snack. Oh,
It can be a meal as well. It doesn't have to be a snack.
Oh no, I know exactly what it is. Me and my girlfriend went out, did food shop the other week, and McCain's have brought out an air fryer crisp potato waffle thing.
Really?
Blew my mind. The best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
As in
it's so good.
Crisp, as in a packet of
so
crisp.
it's like, it looks like a McCain. McCain? Yeah, McCain like crisp. Is it McCain or McCoy's?
McCoy's.
That's the one. So it looks like a McCoy's crisp. It's a bit thicker. Chuck it in the air fryer for literally like 4 minutes.
Wow.
Game changer.
There are other potato snacks available. We have to cover ourselves for these things. Jez.
Wow. Well, I mean, I was going to go down the McCoy's route. I mean, I love a pack of either salt and vinegar McCoy's or
they take the roof of your mouth.
Prawn cocktail. Try the king prawn cocktail McCoy's.
So I think it's sizzling king prawn. I think it is.
Yes, it is. It is. Quite simply put. Other than actually saying that, there's a crisp company called Bert's, and they brought out a prawn. They brought out a prawn cocktail crisps, and I like it because it's got the lifeboat on the front of it. Because obviously, every pack that they sell, they give a certain percentage to the RNLI.
Good.
Cool.
So they're actually my best prawn cocktail favourite crisps. In terms of like a meal, my speciality.
You're so passionate about. I don't think I've ever seen you be so passionate about something.
Food,
before.
isn't it?
No, understandable. I'm the same. I do love potatoes. I'm a potato wedge man myself. I like a good wedge.
It is food. So two shout outs.
Go on. Go on.
I mean, they're pretty much spuds, aren't they? Look at the size of them. Two shout outs. One, my fish pie that I do, which is incredible. So if ever you two come around my house, which is not likely, I'll make you a fish pie. And on top it has just a layer of mashed potato, whatever. Which what I do is I put the fork down it to make it look a little bit like a C effect.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. And crack an egg into it. And then that makes it glaze a little bit at the top. I'm getting proper chefy now.
You are.
And also shout out to 2 fish and chip shops, Mary Jane's that we've talked about before.
Yeah. In Cromer.
And Lemon Place in Welling Village that do incredible fish and chips. But what they do is they actually put on the side of the table, whatever where they're serving, what potatoes they're using for their chips, because it obviously varies. So it's quite nice to sort of see these sort of different varieties of potatoes and see what they taste like. So anyway, I've covered far too much.
I don't think I've never seen you that passionate about something ever before.
Maybe we should just do a potato episode.
That Colombo finger. Just one more thing. Just one more thing.
Besides it.
Set a ritual there.
Yeah.
Chips for me. It was my first ever job. I worked in a fish and chip shop.
God. Yeah.
I fried chips.
What was the fish and chip shop called?
Stinks, doesn't it? Stinks.
It used to be called Big Fry in Dereham, but now it's called The Perfect Catch. So if you're listening to this, shout out to The Perfect Catch, and also for giving me my first job. I'll probably be back there soon. Also,
I'll call them later.
And potato snack. I'd probably go for. I do love a pack of salt and vinegar McCoy's in a Tesco meal deal. Has to be said. They take the roof of your mouth off, and I love it. No pain, no gain.
Can I just say it has to be the smaller pack of them, because when you get the grab bag, they don't taste the same.
It's not the same. No, it's never the same.
No.
I'm going to go and have some after this. So my lunch is going to be some McCoys, and I might test it.
Yeah, go and buy yourself a grab bag and put them into bowls. Just swap them around a few times, and then just see if you can tell the difference of which one's the best one.
A taste test.
Taste test, yeah. So
I think on that note, we should probably wrap things up.
Yeah, Lewis, is there anyone you want to? Oh, actually, there is one more thing I want to talk about. Obviously, because you live in Bristol, do you know A? Do you know any Bristol City fans? And
Yes.
B, have they said anything about their manager coming to us?
Yes. I listened to. I think it was one of your guys actually, one of your pods the other week. You briefly touched on it. No, it was the Birmingham one. That was it. And you briefly touched on it. So no, a lot of the lads in here are Bristol City fans and all very upset. Very upset. He did unbelievably with the budget and the team that he had at Bristol. I would be surprised if you aren't challenging for the top sort of 2-3 places, either automatics or that sort of best team in the playoffs within the next couple of years. He's clearly a good manager. I went to watch a few games last season. Yeah. They play good football. I think he just didn't have the right players at Bristol, which he obviously will have the backing with you guys. So I'm quietly hopeful for you lot next year and the year after.
I'm not saying very much because I had my expectations built up last season and subsequently smashed to smithereens.
But then I think, obviously we're kind of prolonging this a little bit now, but I don't think that those expectations were built up anything other than the fact that his name was Johannes Hoffarup. Because he had no, and it's not. I'm not having a dig at you, Morgan, because I think a lot of Norwich fans are like this, and I was the same. I think we all thought were sort of taken away by the sort of fact that he'd come in from a different league and all of this. Whereas actually, what Lewis has just said, there's actually substance behind that. The fact that he's done well at Bristol City in the same league as he's competing in next season.
Yeah,
with a team with a third of the budget.
Correct, and I think I actually think. Who knows what way it's going to go? It might be awful, but some of the backroom staff that he's bringing in as well. Like they're talking about this Ryan Gary that was under 18, one of the under 18s coaches for England, and he's just been in Belgium, I think, a club in Belgium. Right. So, I think everything's kind of moving forward a little bit.
Just don't tempt fate, right? Don't tempt fate. Smirker. Right.
I would like to be a proxy fan of Norwich, but unfortunately my missus is Borough, so I'm tied into the T side.
And you'll hear all the whinging from me, so you don't need to worry too much.
I know.
Did you give a shout out to anyone, Lewis?
I haven't really got anyone. Shout out TST Shading. It's my dad's business. If anyone needs any canopy umbrellas or awnings, he's a really uninteresting guy, but he loves Spurs. Other than that, no. Got not a lot. No, just very appreciative of you having me on. I know I've just waffled for an hour and a bit, but it's been good. That's waffle.
It's been great. Yeah, I've loved it.
On the topic of Spuds.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your time, Lewis. It's been superb, and thanks for coming on. So, just for everyone else. Morgan loves it when I do this. I can see him cringing, but he loves
it. He adopts this officious tone. There it is. Pop up. Go on, do it.
Just for everyone else listening at home, you can follow us on all of our social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, and X. We are now on TikTok as well, aren't we, Morgan? I'm looking forward to you doing some TikTok dancing, which would be superb. You can now watch the show on YouTube as well as following us, or at least listening to all of our podcasts on all of the social media channels. So search us up, like and subscribe. Make sure you never listen to. I'll start that again. Make sure you never miss any of these superb shows.
You only said make sure you never watch any of these superb shows.
Make sure you never watch anything of any of our content because it's rubbish. I'm Jez Davies.
I'm Morgan Hewitt.
I'm Lewis Tilley.
Good. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Don't. That's all for this episode of Beyond the Barclay. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow, leave a review,
and share it with fellow Norwich City fans. We'll be back soon with more insight and discussion from around Carrow Road. Until then, on the ball, City.